Hi and welcome to a new video in the series Study the Classics, episode number 6. This time we have a look at the game Petrosian versus Spassky from the World Championship 1966 in Moscow, and this game has been very famous for its final combination. So if you want to check if you know the final combination, watch the video till the end. We will now continue with the game, and the game started with knight f3, knight f6, g3, c4, kind of in English, but soon going into some King's Indian opening. White is playing very classical with the fine Cato, and black decided to play a6, which is also quite common. White played d5 immediately and now needed to defend his pawn on c4. c5 was played, queen c2, e5, b3, knight g4, all very logical developing moves. Pawn to e4, pawn to f5, the typical King's Indian push here, and white decided to take. Here is the first situation where you should ask yourself how to recapture. Black has three options, and I think it should be very automatic what you want to play here, and that's why I ask you to think about this position, and I will discuss all the alternatives. So the correct answer is black should definitely take with the pawn. Why is this? Because it's very important for black to control all the central squares here, especially e4, because otherwise the white knights would have an excellent outpost. So that's the main reason. All the other captures have the same disadvantage. If you take by rook would be even more unnatural, but also if you take with the bishop, I can sit with my knight here and I can sit there forever. Knights love those outposts because they are stable, they cannot be driven away with a pawn, and the position is very, very comfortable for white if he manages to establish a knight on e4. So pawn takes f5 was the best, and it was also played in the game. White could now develop normally with bishop b2, which should have been the best move here, but he decided to play knight to d1, which seems strange, but it has a clear idea in mind. Probably white wants to push this knight back, maybe even with f3, and therefore he needs to cover the e3 square first, because otherwise there would be a pin after f3. So black decided to play b5, which is quite aggressive. White tried f3 and black answered with e4, counter-attacking. However, white is simply preventing this counter-attack, and after pawn takes f3, bishop f3, bishop b2, queen b2, white is better because the black king is kind of more vulnerable than white's, in my opinion, and also the pawn structure slightly favors white here, because this pawn might be weak. I might have this great outpost. Of course, I first need to get there, but the chances are there, and as long as the pawn is on f5, this bishop is quite weak. That's why black decided to go for dynamics, which is quite a good idea, because if white, for example, manages to get a knight around, then I think white's advantage would be quite stable. Maybe also rook to f4 possible at some point, but I think a knight would be the best piece to put there. So that's why black went for the dynamics, and white should have taken with the rook now. The reason for this is that after pawn takes, black could take on f4 anyway, because after rook f4 there would be queen g5. I won't go into more details here because there are enough details after that. So we will continue with the game move, which was pawn takes, and black missed his chance to play rook takes f4. Instead he played bishop h3, activating his bishop, but white found a very nice and interesting exchange sacrifice, which is knight to e3. So black should and could still take here because of the same tactics as mentioned before, rook f4, queen g5, regaining the rook, and things are not so easy there. However, he took on f1, which is maybe a bit greedy, and after rook f1, knight to g6, black is an exchange up, but white has a very strong maneuver here, which secured him quite a huge advantage. So if you want to challenge yourself, try to think, what should white play here? Which maneuver could I mean? Always think about improving your pieces, imagine where the weaknesses are, and then you will come up with the solution maybe. We will have a look at the solution now, and what you should see is that this would be a great outpost for any minor piece, and the easiest one to get there is the bishop, which is doing nothing at the moment. And after this, right now black would even need to give up the rook or the exchange. So black is in huge trouble, because if he needs to give up the exchange, he already is one pawn down, plus pressure. So after bishop here, black took on f4 and white recaptured. White should do this because otherwise there is no access to e6, and you can quickly see that after bishop e6 he needs to give back the first rook again, because if the king tries to run, there will be a huge check here, and this won't end so well for black. Maybe picking up this pawn here first, maybe also this one. White is having a perpetual for sure now, but I'm pretty sure there is more he can hope for. Maybe something to start thinking about is knight to e4, because the rook cannot take because of the mate. And yes, maybe that's one way. Maybe another way might also be just pick up the pawn and then play knight f5. But I actually... Oh, wait, there is an even more easy way. I can win the whole rook, and I think now material is already there. Yeah, much better for white, and white is winning. Okay, but also knight e4 might be interesting. So let's go back to the game. Black, of course, dropped the rook back, and now white should not be in a rush to take there, because the pin is there and black cannot unpin in one move, so you should not be in a hurry to take there, because you can take the move after, but you can also increase the pressure first. So white played knight to e4, kind of making the queen stuck, because the queen doesn't want to give this pawn. Also sometimes knight to here is coming, also knight to f5 might be coming now, and queen g7 might be threatened. So black really needs to untangle his pieces, but it's just not possible any longer, and black is just lost here, even though he is 2 exchanges up. He played queen to h4, white took, queen g5 check, king h1. Now if the queen would take here, white would again take too much material. For example here, king f8, queen h8, and we fork the king. King d7 can be tried because the white queen is still under attack, but after bishop e6, king c7, we can remove the queen with a check and then take the black queen. So that's not working. That's why he decided to play rook to a7, protecting his rook. And white played bishop f7, rook f7. And now, if you want to challenge yourself, you can try to find the final combination, which is very well known and can be found in probably any tactics book. And we will continue with the solution, which is very nice. Queen to h8, deflecting the king, luring the king to h8, where it's dropping the rook and then standing in the fork, and white is winning a whole rook with this, and black of course resigned here because he will be a knight and a pawn down and has no chances to survive this. So I hope you enjoyed the game and could learn something from it about weak squares, improving pieces, and also about kind of pawn structures with this g takes f5 capture. So if you like my videos and want to see more of them, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.